Good morning, distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pretty emotional subject for me. The whole theme of excellence is something that I have probably lived for more than 20 years. The whole conference, the way it evolved, has its own journey. In our experience of my personal as well as my organization's experience, we have worked with small to large organizations with or without the models of excellence that we normally know. And I'm sure most guests here have experience and exposed to various models, be it as simple as ISO 9000 or CMMI or PCMM, Deming Award, Ramkrishna Bajaj Award, CIA Exim Award. We can probably keep listing them. We started looking at these models as a method of probably setting up a pace or a framework of excellence in the organization. What we also saw as our experience went along, that a large number of organizations, it would be unfair to say all organizations, but a large number of organizations have started using these models to reflect a milestones in their journey. And quite often, a milestone achieved would also mean a significant complacency set in. I started relating this to the environment or the ecosystem that we live in. I have not at least experienced or seen that our bio-ecosystem ever getting complacent. It continues to evolve. It continues to live in while extinctions can happen, and those extinctions are more because of the survival of the fittest. We all know it from Darwin. So what is it that makes this ecosystem thrive and evolve over a period of time, and why is that in organization this excellence does not remain or evolve or mature over a period of time? We started looking at it, and I started bouncing these thoughts to various professional colleagues of mine at different locations, different part of this country. Also, I broached this subject on the net, on various forums. There are a few things which came out very interesting. While most people understand model, most people respect model, most people work on the models, but quite often the working on the models, I found it to be of very similar to recursive learning in the process. Just to highlight a process of recursive learning, it's very similar to what my mother would have done to me in my childhood of writing A, B, C, probably I don't know how many times, till I perfected writing the alphabet. And that's a bit recursive. Interestingly, I find that a large number of organizations use models as a recursive approach for their excellence. And when I say recursive approach, what I mean is we'll end up having a good checklist, we'll end up having a good item agenda to be completed before we complete our processes or the so-called milestone achieved. Whereas one interesting thing that if we notice from our ecosystem is that ecosystem evolves not in a recursive manner, and any entity which tries to do that in a recursive manner is probably becomes extinct. And that's one of the reasons why dinosaurs vanished, but cockroach has lived for millions of years. Probably cockroach knows how to adapt. Dinosaurs didn't know how to adapt. Now that's the one very interesting word that I have tried to focus in the conference in today's some of the sessions. The models or the excellence experiences need to be adapted, not adopted. Most organizations tend to adopt it, not adapt it. We cannot take models just for their words. It has to be taken for their spirits. Now, taking something for the spirit requires a cultural approach. the way culture evolves in a society. And that is why we structured and we called the whole program as a theme, which was focused on culture of excellence, but we titled it as a thread. The reason why we titled it as a thread is, again, we try to equate it to our Indian scenario. If you look at the Indian scenario, with whatever I have understood, every 100 kilometers we probably live in a different country. Our language changes, our dress code changes, our behavior changes, our food style changes. But despite that, there is something called Indianness here. Now that Indianness is because there is something that threads all these entities together to form. And the strength of the culture would depend on the strength of this thread. And that is why we thought we will call it as a threads of excellence. The components of threads of excellence would probably, is what we envisaged, is that the individuals who form team and the teams who form the organization. Now, a culture of excellence has to thrive all through this structure, and the culture has to be built so that all these entities live in the ecosystem strongly. And that is where our first session, which would happen after the keynote session, is titled as Bio Network of Excellence. The reason why we chose Bio Network is because any ecosystem is made up of living entities. I cannot have organization run just because I have great systems with me. End of the day, we need the people in the organization. Now, people could be leaders, people could be the followers, but it's a relationship, and I think it's a mutually evolving relationship. And it's evolving relationship because I don't think any relationship of leaders and followers are permanent in nature. As environment changes, as the response to environment changes, these relationships undergo change. And that's what the second session is intending to focus on, that how do leaders in the organization create that ecosystem where culture can grow and thrive.